the Arizona Coyotes, who drop to the New York Rangers 3-2, the final score, the final goal, just late in the third period. We're going to talk about that game as well as other things that happened in this episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Robyn, Leaño, Pavlock right beside me on this post-game live show. We are live on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Facebook. So hello to everyone tuning in to this episode. We are talking Arizona Coyotes versus New York Rangers. The team takes a quite a loss, Carl. 3-2 the final score. The final score I ended up predicting. It's just painful for the way it ending this way because, god damn it, I told him not to take as many penalties.
Yep. Yeah. This was a very painful game to watch because the Coyotes were doing pretty well the entire game. Even the second period collapse, which we've come to expect from the Coyotes, it wasn't too bad. They only gave up one goal in the second period. They were pushing really hard. But yeah, you can't give up so many chances to a team with a top 10 power play. You just can't.
I just looked at the stats too. Not only this, because yes, of course, we were talking about a team with the power play, with a top 10 power play, but I wrote down a stat here. I'm trying to see if I could find it that I heard from Bally Sports Arizona right before going to set up for this post game show. The Coyotes are 0-17-2 in games in which they allow a power play goal. That just tells you, Carl. Remember, we talked about this earlier in the week about grading and power and special teams. We gave this Coyotes team an F on special teams for a reason, and
Yep.
and that stat right there is exactly what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. And let's go the other route too, because we were talking about giving up a late power play goal. The Coyotes had two power play chances of their own. They didn't get anything going. They had their own, they started the third period with the man advantage. And sure, Clayton Keller had a few good looks, but they couldn't finish it off. And it killed them. Uh, Although we do need to point out they did have a shorthanded goal, so that was nice. It was good to see that. Kind of makes it a mixed bag when it comes to the penalty kill, getting their first shorthanded goal
Yeah,
and
that's a
also giving up two.
Yeah, I mean, having a shorthanded goal is nice just because nowadays those are rare. I mean, we talked about this only earlier this week. I think it was even in just the previous episode that, we're not too far removed from the time in which the Coyotes were one of the best penalty killing teams in terms of, or most exciting penalty killing teams at the time when they'd get shorthanded goals all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because that shorthanded goal came from a just a beautiful Clayton Keller pass to Louis Eriksson streaking in, and yeah, this is the first year we have Clayton Keller penalty killer. I think he's done pretty well at it.
He
I
has.
think it's not a great penalty kill, but putting him in there is making some interesting things happen.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're talking about a team that's still trying to find their identity. Andre Tourny is moving a lot of things around, and maybe he's figured that he's like, oh, I think Keller on the kill does work in some ways. Obviously, there are some ways it doesn't, but a lot of ways it does. So, again, and that's the point of this team, right? For them to learn a lot about what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're not going to win games, I mean, try new things, kind of see what works, what doesn't. Get that room to experiment.
Exactly. Another thing though that really annoys me from this game too, though, it's just that the Coyotes had the lead to start the game, right? They had, because that shorthanded goal that you mentioned, that was the first goal, and they held on to a 1-0 lead through the majority of the game. I think, what was it, late in the second period? It was
Uh, midway through the second period.
midway through the second period. It
Yeah.
got tied up. Coyotes scored, in midway through the third period, and then we just keep going back and forth. It's like just a little ping pong here, and for them to end that way on the power play goal with just a couple minutes left.
Yeah. And this is something we kind of briefly discussed before we started recording. It did look like the referees had put the whistles away, as people like to say. Sure, the final power play was kind of late in there, but still, the like there had been like two pretty blatant like misses where you're just like, oh, that should have been a penalty. But at least like they're evening up for both sides. But you can't take it too many men on the ice. There's some minors that they're just gonna be like, no, that's too blatant, even for quote unquote whistles put away time.
That's another thing. The fact that penalty was too many men on the ice, and like you said, you just don't take that freaking penalty. Like,
Yeah,
there are penalties you can take, like, that are simple, like a cross-checking penalty. Okay, that's a pretty
yeah,
simple penalty. That maybe you can kind of just like nudge it along, be like, okay, I'll let him play. Same thing with a little bit of interference. Same thing, with maybe a little bit of holding. Obviously, that's still a little bit, there. But too many men on the ice, like,
yeah. I don't know. This team just has a like it's a discipline problem. I don't know how else to explain it. And it's kind of like one of the areas of concern I have for Turner, because it's still really early in his time, but this team takes way too many penalties, and they're not all like I I got outplayed, so I need to take a hooking call to prevent a goal. It's stuff like the too many men on the ice, and you're just like, what are you doing? Why? Stop it.
exactly. It's those things that make this game even more frustrating than I anticipated. Like, I knew
Yeah.
this was going to be again. And again, for those who want to listen to the pregame show, see what my prediction was. I said 3-2 Rangers. Um, my thought process was it was going to be like 3-1 late in the second period or early in the third period. Coyotes get one back and just unable to put it away. Um, I didn't think it was going to go down this route.
Yeah, no, I didn't either. It definitely this was not the game that I thought it was going to be. And I kind of want to talk about that because this is very different than the game I expected it to be.
Yeah, and let's briefly mention that before we go, before we go to our first break. Um, like, what was the expectation for you? Like, what?
Oh, well, I was gonna go a little bit more in depth after the break, but yeah. So I expected this to be a situation where the Rangers underplayed and the Coyotes just kind of squeaked out a win. I think is how I phrased it. The Rangers were gonna
Right.
lose this one, but no, I thought the Coyotes looked really good. They had a few like interesting strategies. They were really employing stretch passes to kind of like thin out the Rangers, and it seemed to be working pretty well. Like I thought this was a Coyotes team playing up versus the Rangers playing down.
Exactly. But let's keep going on this post game show. We still got more to get to on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. This post game live show as we break down the Arizona Coyotes 3-2 loss to the New York Rangers. Before we get to any more, though, I want to let you guys know about today's episode brought to you by Stat Hero. No one plays daily fantasy sports to lose. Winning feels so much better. But traditional fantasy sports are a long-term losing proposition because you never know who or what you're up against. Stat Hero is the first of its kind daily fantasy sports platform where it's you versus the house in a head-to-head fantasy matchup winner take all. And here's the crazy part. Stat Hero shows you their lineups before you play, and you handpick the team that you want to face one-on-one. This never-before-seen innovation of fantasy sports and sports betting hybrid, Stat Hero players are clocking 4 times better odds. So why? Why? Because you don't have to compete against thousands of other experts or unknowns. Stat Hero puts you in control of your fate. With Stat Hero, you are in control of the stakes. You decide how much you're going to play for, and Stat Hero has no choice but to take it because they are daring you to beat them. Stat Hero is head-to-head is what fantasy should be. One-on-one. I want you guys to check it out yourself. You can sign up for free right now at stathero.com/hockey using the promo code hockey for 100% deposit match. Once again, stathero.com/hockey. Use the promo code hockey for 100% match. stathero.com/hockey. Promo code hockey. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, so let's continue here on Locked On Coyotes. We talked about the kind of games that we expected and everything like that. And yeah, I mean, I think like you said, for both of us, this was different. We both thought this was going to go in completely different ways. And again, it is frustrating because the Coyotes, that first half of the game, they looked pretty good.
Yep, they definitely look good. They almost had an earlier lead than they got. Did you get a chance to see the Eriksson almost goal, where
I did not get a chance to see. I was trying to pay attention as much as I could. I was just finishing wrapping up my own shift at work. I was helping out a fundraiser for my event, for an event that I'm helping out with. So I can only pay attention so much. But
it
I know what
was
you're
tough.
talking about.
Yeah, it was tough to spot because they didn't replay it right away. So the first chance I got to really see it was after the intermission. But the Coyotes had chances. They were doing good to crash the net. They were getting the pucks on a young goaltender who doesn't have a lot of NHL experience, especially this season. They were playing the right way, but the penalties, it was an issue from start to finish. Their first power play ended prematurely midway through on a call. You just can't do that.
You just can't do stuff like that. And again, that just kind of tells you just what this Coyotes team has been doing all season long, right? They've been doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
This is what we're used to seeing, and it's sad that I say that we're used to seeing that.
Yeah, it's basically the team is definitely playing better now than they did to start the season. They're more cohesive, but the same mistakes that they were making then, they're making now, and it's frustrating.
They're just making less of those mistakes, but they're still making the mistakes.
Yeah, and they're better able to recover from them as well.
Yes, that too. Let's talk about a couple other things that were part of this game. First and foremost, let's talk about that finish right afterwards. There was just a little bit we can mention about it because it was just there.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can see the frustration was there, and there was for example, Phil Kessel went and dropped the gloves and wanted to get involved in the fight. A few other players I think did too.
Yeah, it's rough. You could tell frustration was really starting to build, and I think especially I was surprised there wasn't more physical play during the game. Let me just say that.
Yeah, and let's put it this way. I think, what is it now? They've won now 1, 2, here's another reason for the frustration. They've only won 1 of their last 9 games, right? That's what it is.
I believe so. Yeah.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all. Last 10, they are 2-8-0. So
2-8-0.
Yeah,
that's brutal.
It is, and especially when it seemed like this one was in hand. Definitely seemed like we said it. The Coyotes could have won this one if they didn't take a stupid stupid penalty. Um, to kind of change things up a little bit, I thought Keller had a pretty good game. Had a goal and assist. I think
Yeah, he
it's
did.
his fifth multi-point game of the season. So I think I'm interested to see how much like he and Gus Despair make up of this Coyotes offense because I feel like it's most of it.
It's got to be like the absolute majority of the Coyotes offense, and two people can't make a team.
No,
They
no,
and hockey of all teams, like of all sports, of all the four major sports, hockey is the most. It takes all 20 skaters.
yeah. It takes everybody, and the Coyotes just they're not getting it. They have like almost no secondary scoring. I am kind of starting to wonder, like, should the team consider maybe putting Hayton back in Tucson to see if he can get like his offense going? Because he's been pretty quiet there. Like he's been playing good. Like I don't want to say he's been playing like poorly. Just he can't get any offense going.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's something that'll definitely be a discussion with him, Tournay, and Armstrong to kind of say, what best is what's best for his skill set.
yeah.
And it's hard to tell at this point because he's been. I mean, yeah, he's been quiet, but he's also proved himself to be a valuable asset for the Coyotes. But
He's
maybe,
playing second line center, so
yeah,
and like defensively pretty go okay at the role.
yeah, and I think, and I in the I can make the counter argument too when I said he's a pretty good asset for the Coyotes that you keep some of the good assets in Tucson. You know, don't show your hand,
Yeah.
right?
Although, speaking of Tucson, Mosier's first game.
Mosier's first game. I didn't get a chance to pay attention much to him because I was focused. I was focused on this, if whether or not the Coyotes could actually pull off winning this game. How do you think he played?
I thought he played okay. I was looking at stats. He was a -1 for what that's worth. Had one shot on goal. Uh, the Coyotes defensemen seemed pretty active tonight. I thought they did like a lot of good to keep the play going, and I thought he was a good part of that. Didn't really stand out kind of negatively, which is what I you know was expecting for him in his first game. Like it's good for me that he didn't have like a standout moment because normally that standout moment is bad.
Absolutely. So it's those are just some of the things that we want to mention. Another thing too. The Arizona Coyotes have lost. We don't have any further confirmation, but Christian Fischer to injury. He was put out with an injury, early on in the game,
Upper
and
body.
upper body injury. And then I think at the intermission is when they're like, yeah, he's not coming back for the game.
Yeah, I think it was during the first period. I didn't see like what happened with that. Looks like he only recorded 3:21, so pretty early in the game. Let's hope he's okay because he's just coming back from being injured pretty long term, and I thought that this had been one of his best seasons in Arizona.
Yeah, he's. I mean, we talked about Fisher in the preseason. We talked about how much of a um, disappointment he's been in some cases. Like hasn't been living up to our expectations of him. What hasn't been playing incredibly well in the penalty kill because that's where he. I mean, that's where we saw him the most.
Yeah,
And there were a lot of things that we were just like, man, like he needs to do this, he needs to do this. But yeah, this has been his best year so far.
yeah, he's definitely. He had a really high rookie year, and he never really lived up to that hype. That was just a crazy year for the Coyotes, but it seemed like he was finally he found his niche, and then like just this year, it's been like injury after injury, kind of hampering anything he can get going.
Yeah, and I mean that's just sort of the Coyotes. Let's be real.
Yeah, honestly, it is this year. Just bad luck and bad everything.
hmm Anyways, we still got more to get to in this episode of Locked On Coyotes. We're gonna try to move forward and take a quick look ahead. What's coming up for the Arizona Coyotes and what can they do to get back on the right track? All that coming up in just a moment. But first, a quick word from Carl.
Got beard? Get primal. You heard me right. Got beard? Get primal. If you or someone you care about has a beard, it needs to get primal. Maybe you're that guy who's never considered the benefits of treating your beard with product. Primal Origin oils will stop the itch and make your beard look healthy and groomed. The products are free from harmful synthetic ingredients and have a low impact on our planet. Primal Origin oils makes balms, oils, and whipped butter that are renowned as the best feel in beard products available. All products are fair trade certified and handcrafted in the United States. The combo kits make a great holiday gift. If you're shopping for yourself, you'll be glad you did. Personally, I don't have a beard. I like to keep things pretty clean shaven, but I have friends with beards and always kind of talking to them about products, and Primal is one of those things that comes up. And now we know that every company claims to have the best, but Primal Origin Oils challenges you to compare their ingredients and their beard feel with other products you've used. We promise you'll see and feel the difference. Remember the code locked on to get 20% off your order at primaloriginoils.com. That's promo code locked on at checkout for 20% off.
Back here on Locked On Coyotes, Robyn, Leaño, and Carl Pavlock, as we discuss we're on the post game show. We in the previous couple segments we discussed what went wrong with the Arizona Coyotes, what they lost, all stuff like that in this 3-2 loss to the New York Rangers. But now it's time to just try to take a look ahead, Carl. They have another game this week, which will go into a full preview on the next episode of this show. But they got the Anaheim Ducks on Friday, which the first time they played each other, it wasn't. It did not go well.
No. I mean, they're going to be on the road, so maybe they're able to kind of simplify their game. I thought this Coyotes homestand has, had some bright spots, some stuff that they can string together, build off of. Um, it's kind of back to where we were before, though, where this team needs to be close to perfect in order to win games.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I'm just looking at this. I'm just looking at that game. I'm thinking to myself, oh man, last thing we want is for the Coyotes to play. Have those tough games against the Ducks again, because like for some reason the Ducks have not even just this from the first game this year, but just in general, this team just against this team against the Ducks in the last few years, they're just a stingy team.
Yeah, I don't particularly like the Coyotes' chances heading into the Ducks game, but I didn't like their chances going into tonight's game, and I thought they overperformed. So there's always something about this team where I'm like, I don't want to count them out because I feel like they can turn things around. They can put it all together. Not consistently, of course, but they have the pieces in order to make something somewhat interesting happen. And I also I think the team has been a lot better with Schmaltz on the ice. He definitely adds an offensive flair that they didn't have for a very long time while he was gone. And I think we're just starting to get that. He had an assist on the Keller goal, so kind of shows their chemistry.
Yeah. So like you and like what you said, don't like the changes, but I will say this on my side, on my perspective, that this could be an opportunity, somewhat of an opportunity for the Coyotes to get some kind of feeling to bounce back. Um, just doing what they can, as you'd mentioned. Some players off injury. We don't know what the status of other players are. So they're just trying to get a feel back because obviously you saw at the end of this Rangers game they were frustrated. So they're going to put that they're going to put that emotion into a former division rival, which they've hated for a long time. If not then maybe on Sunday when they go to Vancouver and we see Connor Garland and Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
I mean, talk about wanting to put your best foot forward. Like, um, if you are any of the players that Vancouver sent over, so Erickson, Roussel,
Beagle.
Beagle, you want to have a strong game. If you are like Clayton Keller or Nick Schmaltz, you want to have a good game against like a guy like Garland and a guy like Oliver Ekman-Larsson, because I mean, you know those players, you spent time with them. Like, there's a rivalry there. You don't want to be like, hey, yeah, we suck now that you're gone. You want to be like, no, you're gone and we're moving on. You want to have that kind of big thing.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's one of the things that we'll definitely pay attention to in that game. I think especially an opportunity for that because the those three that the Coyotes got from Vancouver were essentially scraps, right? Like
Yeah.
they were just like, oh, we'll send you this because we want to get rid of cap, so we can take these players, these star players, in a way, especially mainly Garland being the star player,
Yeah.
and of course the former captain who's still proven to show worth, and have them say, hey, you thought I was worth nothing. Here's what I'm actually worth, and put their best game forward on that. Not and makes things easy, make things easier. The Canucks aren't a good team, so
Well, I do kind of want to say this. Roussel, I thought, had a pretty good game. Like, he came in close on that almost Erickson goal. He had another good look. I think he's been pretty okay for the last couple games. So yeah, I think there's definitely like those players. They're definitely overpaid. It's definitely kind of
oh, no
was a
doubt
cap
about it.
dump. Yeah, but they still have hockey left to play. Um, this is a 3 game road trip where I think the Coyotes can maybe get some good things going.
Let me go back to what I said before in the pregame show and what I said in the preseason, talking about players having something to prove. And
Yeah,
that weekend will be that opportunity with the Canucks game, with the Ducks game too, because obviously the way the Ducks, former division rivals, with the Canucks game, with the three players, and then you got the Kraken, who you know are also a basement team.
yeah, and it would be nice if the Coyotes are just like the team that constantly like beats the Kraken. Like, that's a good way to start that expansion team's life. Just constantly get beat up by the league worst Coyotes.
I swear, if we beat the Kraken on, I got to bring up Erica Lindsay Ayala on our show and just be like, so how does it feel to be winless against the Arizona Coyotes?
How would it? Because I think that would be the first team to lose twice to the Coyotes this season. It potentially only, like, it wouldn't surprise me.
Oh man, what an experience that might be, right? What an
Yeah.
experience it could be. Oh man, the thoughts. Anyways, though, we are just about out of time on this post-game show. Arizona Coyotes once again fall to the New York Rangers 3-2, the final score. To those betting people, if you took my advice, congratulations, you won. But if you took some of Carl's advice,
Yeah.
not all of it, some of it, you would have won some money.
Yeah. If you had, yeah, I was close. I described the scenario. Close, no cigar.
Well, actually, let's put it this way. Yeah, let's put it this way. If there was that prop bet on that scenario, there would have been a pretty good level of money odds to take that. And like, if you had bet on that, Carl, you'd be rich.
I do think when is the game-winning goal scored would be an interesting prop bet.
Bet online if you're listening to us. You know
Suggestions.
where we are. You know where we
Yeah.
are. Give us a call. Anyways, we are just out of time for this episode of Locked On Coyotes. Hope you guys like what you heard. If you did, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you're yet to already. We are available everywhere you get your podcast, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I am at Robyn_Leaño. Carl Pavlock is at Carl Pavlock FFH. Ask us a question you might have, interact with us. We can interact with you right back or answer those questions right back, or even on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.